All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to do things a little differently. We're taking educational psychology completely out of those heavy, dusty academic textbooks, and we're dropping it right where it belongs, directly onto the vocational workbench. If you've ever tried to learn a hands-on craft, well, you already know it's a deeply mental exercise, right? It's not just a physical one. So today, we're going to explore exactly how the science of learning applies directly to you, the student, when you are right there in the thick of skill training.
Think back to the last time you tried to master a really tough, hands-on task. Maybe you were learning to carve wood, solder a circuit board, or sew a perfect seam. Did you ever stop to just pay attention to what your brain was doing while your hands were struggling to learn that new skill? I mean, what is your internal monologue actually doing when a tool slips or the material just doesn't cooperate? That invisible mental workspace, that is exactly what we're shining a spotlight on today.
Section 1. The Science of Learning. Okay, let's dive into this. The truth is that raw, physical grind of learning a new craft, it's actually governed by this invisible, highly structured science. Imagine walking into a bustling workshop. You see students intensely focused, working with their hands, feeling that sharp frustration of a mistake, or maybe the sudden thrill of finally getting a technique right. Well, beneath all those actions and expressions, the fundamental principles of educational psychology are operating at full speed. They are literally shaping how your brain processes every single physical movement.
To ground us here, let's look at a quote from the famous psychologist B.F. Skinner. He said, "Educational psychology is the branch of psychology that deals with teaching and learning." Now, for a vocational student, what this simply means is that your daily struggles in the workshop aren't just random moments of trial and error. Not at all. They're actually part of a measurable, observable science. Every single time you practice a technique, you're participating in a scientifically understood process of cognitive and motor development.
And you know, educational psychology isn't just about passing written tests. It covers 4 massive pillars. First, it studies the learner. That's you, your motivations, your specific needs. Second, it covers the learning process, which is how your memory and retention handle physical training. Third, it looks at the learning situation, the overall vibe and environment of the workshop itself. And finally, individual differences, because let's face it, no two students process information exactly the same way. Section 2. Looking within through introspection.
All right, now we're getting to the core focus of our explainer. This is about the oldest and honestly arguably the most powerful psychological method available to you at the workbench, introspection. It literally means looking within to observe and report your own conscious thoughts, feelings, and mental states. During skill training, you essentially become both the observer and the observed. You're not just a machine mindlessly repeating a motion. You're an active researcher of your own mind, paying close attention to exactly how a specific physical motion makes you feel and think.
So how does this actually play out in real life? Let's track it. Imagine you're experiencing a difficult problem. Let's say you just heard the sharp snap of a saw blade breaking for the 3rd time today. Step 2 is observing your own conscious emotional response. Instead of just getting mad and throwing the tool, you introspect. You listen to your inner monologue. You might think, wow, okay, I am feeling incredibly frustrated right now, and my grip on this handle is way too tight because I'm absolutely terrified of messing up again. Step 3 is reporting and adjusting. You realize your emotional state is actually sabotaging your motor skills, so you consciously take a breath, relax your shoulders, loosen your grip, and maybe you realize, hey, I need a visual demonstration before I try this again. That right there, that is introspection fostering metacognition, thinking about your own thinking so you can become a better craftsman.
Section 3. The Teacher's External Observation.
Now, while you are busy looking inward, the educator in the room has a totally different job. We kind of have to shift our perspective here from your internal experience to the external environment. If you notice the large circle for introspection on the left side of this broader psychological toolkit, well, that's your domain. But a skilled educator has to build a holistic picture of the entire classroom. That's where methods like observation and case studies come into play. They use these external tools to figure out the invisible struggles you're facing.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the beautiful dual awareness happening in the workshop. On the left side, we've got introspection, your view as the student. You are actively exploring your inner subjective experiences. But then on the right side, we have observation, the teacher's view. They're engaged in systematic, planned watching of your outward behavior. So while you're internally feeling that the tool is clumsy in your hand, the teacher is externally observing your rigid posture and the awkward angle of your wrists. It's when these two perspectives come together that the learning problem actually gets solved.
Section 4. Shaping the Learning Environment.
So how do all these psychological insights, gathered from you looking within and your teacher watching from without, actually construct the physical and social space of the workshop?
Well, a massive part of this is something called differentiated instruction. Basically, educational psychology dictates that a teacher has to address individual differences. If your introspection tells you that just listening to verbal instructions isn't clicking for you, your teacher's observation will lead them to accommodate you differently. They're going to recognize, they might be a visual learner who needs a clear diagram, or maybe a tactile learner who needs to have their hands physically guided through the motion.
Section 5. Mastering the craft.
So what is the ultimate goal here? How does this applied science lead to tangible success in real skill acquisition? Well, educators have a highly specific toolkit to help vocational students like you truly thrive. Whether you're in a pottery studio or a heavy machinery class, the utility of educational psychology is just immense. It takes us way past abstract theory. It becomes the actual framework used to turn a beginner's clumsy, frustrating attempts into refined, confident mastery.
If we map out this journey to mastery, it reveals some incredibly specific strategies for your success. When a teacher wants to nurture your creativity, they deliberately match tasks to your current cognitive and motor abilities, just to make sure you aren't getting overwhelmed. To address your unique differences, they accommodate your specific learning style. To rebuild your confidence, especially after a really tough failure, they strategically use positive reinforcement and growth-oriented feedback. And finally, to facilitate those physical skills, they use scaffolding. That means breaking down complex, super intimidating techniques into small, manageable steps. So every time you finally nail that difficult technique, just remember, it's this psychological scaffolding that's holding you up.
So here is the big takeaway I want to leave you with. Education is not just something that happens to you. You are an active participant in the laboratory of your own mind. The very next time you struggle to learn a new skill and you feel that familiar heavy wave of frustration hitting you right there at the workbench, will you remember to look within? Will you use introspection as your secret tool to break through that barrier? Think about it. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and we will see you in the next explainer.